All right, 112. One of the things that's significant here, still talking about chapter 19, chapter 20, and unit 2, is the book mentions, almost in passing, the 7 Years' War. And it lumps it in here with mercantilism, it lumps it in here with the triangular trade, it lumps it in here with Maroon Communities and Manumission, and a list of kingdoms. And then it bleeds over into chapter 20, and I see the Qing dynasty. Qing is Qing, right? Emperor Kangxi, Qianlong. It talks about the Yangtze River Valley. It also talks about the McCartney mission. It mentions Aurangzeb and Maratha kingdoms and Nadir Shah. And so, literally, we have gone from, hey, look, it's the Americas, and here is Africa, and oh, yeah, let's go ahead and toss some China in there. And did we mention India? And even the Battle of Plassey and Lord Cornwallis. And then it ends up on the seclusion edicts. I'm not even going to go there yet. What's significant is this. This has everything to do with mercantilism. It's not going to be just the French that believe in bouillonism and mercantilism. It's just not going to be the French. It's going to be the Dutch. It's going to be the British. It's going to be the French. It's going to be the Spanish. It's going to be the Portuguese that do this. The other thing we're going to see that is involved with this is going to be the advance of the joint stock companies, and many of those joint stock companies, like the East India Company or West India Company or any, are going to be supported by the government, and in some cases they're going to become their own arm of the government as far as trade. The 7 Years' War talks about the war between roughly Britain, United Kingdom, and France. If you talk about the French Indian War, you're talking about that in North America. The 7 Years' War is France and their friends fighting Britain and their friends in other parts of the world. It's not quite a world war, but wherever you have these colonies and this colonial front, you're going to see them fighting. The biggest part of it is in Europe, but we're going to see it in the Americas. We're going to see it in India. We're going to see it in Africa, wherever you have that colonial front at. And it's because each of these colonies can only trade with their nation legally. You're going to see an awful lot of smuggling, but legally, that's who they can trade with. And so there's a competition for resources, and this competition for resources is going to be huge. Part of that you start to see prop up when we start to talk about the slave trade in the Atlantic plantation. There's a brief mention of Maroon Communities and Manumission, and the idea of Manumission is freeing slaves, which Britain is going to do, in huge areas as far as their colonies are concerned. The Maroon Communities are going to be those communities that are going to set up for the Spanish, because the Spanish don't believe in slavery, which is kind of strange. But when they're encroaching on the territory, when they're in places like Florida, you're going to see Maroon Communities pop up, which are communities of escaped slaves who are going to set up new communities in free territory where slavery is not allowed. So you'll see slaves escaping from South Carolina and Georgia, setting up these Maroon Communities of escaped slaves in Florida that are protected by the Spanish. And it's because you're starting to see them competing over same areas. You're starting to see the interaction of the British and the French in the New World and on the high seas. And so it's significant. Part of this footprint, part of this dynamic, you're going to see continue. The idea of the Qing dynasty is you're going to see the introduction of trade, into via the McCartney mission, via this group of people that are going to go negotiate as a branch of the British civil service and ask to be able to trade in China. It will blow up in their face to begin with, but eventually they'll work their way in there. But then they're also going to be working to trade in India. Okay, and they're going to lead into India first, be successful there via their joint stock company. They're very good at setting up governmental operations. They're very good at doing it as a joint stock company. Britain is. When they move into India, they're going to do it with the aid of the India companies, and they're going to subvert the government that is there. They're going to compete and work alongside the remains of the empire that was there and form almost a shadow government, a dual government. It's like, listen, we're not in charge, but we're going to go ahead and tell the people who are in charge, who are part of you, how to go ahead and run this, and we'll support them and we'll enforce them, and we'll use our military to go ahead and help them to rule and to keep order in an attempt to help benefit us. You're going to see the East India Company set up shop in India, and they're going to set up shop and they're going to become their own government. The British India Company is going to let them, the British government is going to let them run, pardon me, and set up shop. They're going to have their own navy. They're going to have almost their own army. They're going to have their own law structure. And eventually they're going to move beyond India into, the East Asia area. It's going to be that same branch that is going to eventually open up operations, and trade in China. And it will be significant. What's significant about this is they're going to be competing. They're going to be at war sometimes in the high seas with France, who has its own version of trading companies, with the Dutch, who have their own version of trading companies. So if you're thinking about this, I want you to think about the Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Not ghosts and all that kind of stuff, but about this competition of pirates and piracy on the high seas, where that they're going to issue letters of marque, right, which is legal piracy. The idea is what we call a privateer, where the British are going to commission pirates, legal pirates, to go after Spanish ships, to go after French ships, to try to waylay them on the seas, to interrupt their trade, to try to interrupt their supplies to the colonies so that they can weaken them. It's significant because it's going to be part of really what leads into and influences the 7 Years' War and furthers the competition between these areas. That's where it's going to fit in. The Maratha kingdoms, we start to look at a rebellion, that pops up in India, and the company's going to put that down. We're going to look at the Battle of Plassey and Lord Cornwallis, where this is where Cornwallis, makes his name before that little thing we call the American, Revolution pops up in there. It's significant. And the last thing this mentions is the seclusion edicts. And the seclusion edicts are significant because it's not India, right? It's not China, but the seclusion edicts are going to be about Japan. Japan is going to be influenced by the Portuguese. It's going to be influenced by the Spanish. It's going to be influenced by the Catholic and Christian religion in a negative way, because if you are the ruler of Japan, if you are the emperor of Japan, then you are related to the sun god. You are a descendant of the sun god. And when the Spanish and Portuguese start trading there, they bring this other idea that there's only one god and your king's not related to him. That influences people in a negative way. It causes a disruption. So what will happen is you will have a war leader, okay, a shogun, take over control, and he will issue, he'll take the government, he'll leave the emperor sitting because you can't replace him, but he'll take the authority from him, issue seclusion edicts. This is, hey, listen, nobody is welcome here. We're going to go ahead and cut off all access to Western countries, except for the Dutch. We're going to invite the Dutch to trade in this one outside island because the Dutch are not going to take and interest us in their religion. They're just here for trade. All right, I will let you finish up on the rest of the reading. Thank you.